All right. So, hey everybody, this is Jonathan Agadello from Freedom Mortgage. For our weekly Let's Talk. Mr. Bolano could not be with us today, but we do have Lisette Bolano as well.
Covering today.
Partners in crime that they are, So we'll go ahead and move forward and start talking about our different, I'm shaking the table already, sorry guys, our different topics. We're gonna try not to go as long as we did last week. I mentioned that a little earlier. We're gonna, hopefully you guys have some good questions, a little bit more. Mr. Bolano, how are you, sir? A little bit more questions, so we can that's really the point of all this stuff, is to inform you, to answer your questions, not for us to just have, our little FaceTime and everybody seeing what we look like and hearing our voices. So with that being said, Lisette, what is our first topic?
We are going to touch upon the importance of communication between the real estate agent and the loan officer or the loan originator. So on your end, why is it important for us to constantly be communicating and being on the same page?
So on my side, communication is key because, hey everybody, Wendy, Stephanie, how are you guys? Communication is key because if for example, a lot of this stuff is time sensitive. So we're trying to get this loan closed as soon as possible from the minute you go under contract.
Right.
So if I know where I can reach the borrower, where I can reach you, where I can reach the listing agent sometimes, whatever we need to do, we can set ourselves up for success. It can be a fluid process. Hey, borrower X, we need you to sign this document. Okay, yeah, you can forward it to me. I'll print it and I'll sign it. Oh, I don't have a printer. All right, perfect. I'll just shoot Lisette a text and she'll print it out for you. Can you meet her and have her sign? It's really a team effort.
Right.
What do you think on your side? What do you see?
It's really important to know what kind of financing you're getting into, because there are some homes that don't necessarily qualify for that program that you're going with. For example, that $7,500 down program, a lot of houses do not qualify in the sense that they need extensive work done to them or whatever the reason is. So having that clear communication between the realtor and the loan officer, we can kind of get those details sorted out right from the beginning so we don't waste your time. We don't want to bring you to a house that, you fall in love with it and then we say, sorry, we can't put an offer in because your financing doesn't qualify.
Correct. Yeah. And if touching on that, if I tell you, hey, I spoke with this borrower, that borrower, and this is what they qualify for, this is what they can do, and then I don't communicate it to the borrower, so they're gonna go out and be like, hey, I'm looking at houses on Trulia, on Zillow, yeah, Lisette is sending me stuff, Jonathan's sending me stuff, but I'm gonna look on myself on this stuff. She's not gonna know, he's not gonna know, I actually only qualify for this level and I'm over here looking over here. Or on the opposite spectrum, you might be like, there's no way I qualify for this. And come to find out, you're way above where you think you are. So it's one of those things, communication, just like in any aspect of any business and any relationship, any part of life, communication is key.
Exactly.
Another thing about communication, who do you talk to about what? You can touch on this. We discussed this a little bit. What do you see happening sometimes that this can be applied to?
I do get a lot of financial questions.
There it goes.
Oh, there goes your phone again.
Yeah.
I do get a lot of financial questions in regards to the loan in particular. Those are questions that are best directed towards your loan officer rather than your real estate agent. But we are happy to relate the information over as well.
Jesus. Sorry, guys.
Causing earthquakes over
I am a mess right now. I apologize. And
you want to turn that over?
Oh, I turned the camera on. Sorry, guys. I swear.
And you turned the camera over there too.
Of course I did. This one?
Yep.
We're having technical difficulties.
We got a question. We got a few of them, actually.
Okay, what's that?
All right. Yes, he is a loan officer. And then the next question is, which houses qualify for the $7,500 down program?
Oh, Jesus, I just blocked you out. So, in regards to the $7,500 first down program, what qualifies? Oh my God, any FHA property, any property that would qualify past FHA inspection, that would be in these cities, which is Cranston, Pawtucket, Providence, East Providence, Warwick, and Woonsocket. To qualify for those programs, you need to be in those cities. You need to be able to get yourself to pass FHA inspection. If not, you need to go 203K, combine a few different programs, which will be a little different. But in general, you need to fall within those 6 cities.
And then particularly with the houses themselves. So as I mentioned earlier, houses that don't need to be torn down and built up again. Houses that are fairly in good condition overall are usually good candidates for the FHA loan or the $7,500 grant. Correct.
Those houses, because if they are, let's say they're not in that great condition or whatever, you need to go with another program along with that $7,500 grant, which would be like a 203K or something like that. And depending on the situation, it would really dictate which way we can go depending on your particular finances.
We have another question. Is it a grant or does it need to be paid back?
So it is a grant. That grant is a loan, but it's a forgivable loan. So what happens with that loan is over 5 years, it gets the amount that is borrowed, it lowers by $1,500, 20% over those 5 years. So for example, it starts off at $7,500. If you end up going after 2 years, so you just subtract that $3,000, now you only got to pay back $4,500. You end up selling or something within those 2 years. If it goes 3 years, another $1,500 comes off. 4 or 5 years. After the 5th year, you don't have to pay anything back. And that's why, I mean, it is a grant, but it's a forgivable loan, to which the money is beginning to run out. We're getting there. We're getting close. So we should really, if you're thinking about using that grant, or if you think, hey, I wonder if I even qualify for this grant, give us a call. Give me a call. We'll get you pre-approved. If you don't know my number, you know my information. You talk to Lisette, talk to Jonathan. Again, I mean, I'll say my number anyway, 401-365-7161. Shoot me a text, give me a call, send me a message on here if you'd like, and we can discuss pulling your credit, seeing where you are, and seeing if you qualify for that program. Anything else anybody might have right now?
I think that's what we have. Oh wait, we might have another question. Do you pay it off at the closing table or out of pocket beforehand?
So that grant gets paid off when you sell. Once you sell that property, once you move out of that property, as long as you're living in that property as a primary residence, you do not have to pay back that loan. If you do any of that, you make that switch within those 5 years, then yes, you would have to repay that money prorated, of course. So again, minus $1,500 per year that passes. Any other questions in regards to communication? Agent LO communication.
Did you want to touch upon who to talk to
about what? We did that a little bit,
on my
right?
end?
Oh, on your end, correct.
How about
So
your end?
I have a lot of people ask me actually, can you help me find the houses? Can you help me? Are you the one that helps me do, how much will this house cost me? How much is a good amount to offer for this house? How much, do you think this will cost me? Or how much do you think you can get it down to? I can speculate based on stuff that I've done with clients, clients that have purchased in the past. But in all reality, the experts in this stuff would be your real estate agent, would be Lisette, would be Jonathan Delano. You guys would be the ones that, they would be the ones that you guys go to with, hey, I know this is out there for $250,000. Do you think we can go 220? You think it's reasonable to do that? I work on the complete opposite end of that stuff.
Right.
So.
We actually have another question.
Yes.
Can this grant be used towards a multifamily property?
Yes, the grant can be used towards single family, up to 4 units. You can use the rental income to help you qualify. So if you don't make enough on your own, but with the rental income, you qualify for a little more to be able to make that purchase, then yes, you can do that as well. Up to 4 units, because anything above 4 units is considered commercial. It's more you're doing it as a business as opposed to as a primary residence where you're gonna reside and collect rent while you're there.
All right.
So, another topic on the communication. No such thing as a dumb question. So as you see, people have questions. Some of you may know the answer, some of you may not. It's like anything else. If you're trying to make such an important decision in your life, ask any question. It comes to mind, you're not sure about it, shoot me a text, shoot them a text, call, email, and we'll find out for you. We'll let you know, hey, this is that. If we don't know the answer, we'll find out.
Right.
There's no such thing at all as a bad question. As long as you're informing yourself and you're learning, moving forward in the process, it's the best thing you can do. So you don't go in there blind. You don't go in there. You're not at the closing table like, oh man, I never asked him this question, and now I'm about to sign this, and I'm going to be the owner of this property, and I didn't ask this question. It's important.
Yeah, and that's why we're the professionals. So not everything is straightforward necessarily. Not everything is common sense. There's a lot of hoops to jump through sometimes with these transactions. Correct. So it's really important to ask every single question that you have to make sure that you feel comfortable with what you're going to purchase, and make sure that we're there for you every step of the way. And I think we have another question.
Sure. What's that?
Let me see. Let's see. Is there a list of FHA properties? That's a good question.
That is a good question. So what constitutes a quote unquote FHA property? It's not necessarily an FHA property. It's a property that can pass FHA inspection, is what qualifies as an FHA property. There might be a property that needs work that will not initially pass FHA inspection, but the seller understands and know this, and they'll say, all right, purchase price is this amount, but once the appraisal comes back, the FHA appraisal, they're going to say, hey, this doesn't pass unless you do this and this and this. And the seller might know that ahead of time and be like, all right, I was anticipating that. I'll take care of that stuff. So it would still be an FHA approved property as long as the work gets done. Also, a 203K loan, which is a rehabilitation loan, if it does need work, that's an FHA loan as well. So, excuse me, those loans, you would still be approved FHA, 3.5 down, the whole 9. It's just a little bit different. The contingencies, the things that go into that program. But yeah, it's not specifically like this property here is an FHA property. I mean, some sellers do list them and say no FHA because they don't want to put the work into it to pass the FHA inspection, the FHA appraisal. Does that answer the question?
I think that's a good one. There's no particular list per se, but your agent should give you a good idea whether or not this could be a good candidate depending on the overall condition.
Correct, if it can pass FHA inspection or not.
Yeah,
yes. And
a lot of it does depend on the seller and what they're willing to do as well. So you have to keep that in mind.
Correct. So, I mean, if there's more questions coming along, if it's to do with the program. Oh, there is one.
Do we have more?
Let's see, what is that? To avoid paying for FHA inspections on every property that looks good, is there a checklist to go by before hiring an inspector? On your side of the spectrum?
Overall, from my experience, any home that has severe foundation issues will not pass, and the seller may or may not have an issue fixing that. That's one of the most expensive repairs that you can make on a house.
In regards to or on every property that looks good, is there a checklist to go by before hiring an inspector? So I wouldn't know per se if there's a checklist out there. I'm assuming you can go to the HUD website. You can go to like different things, and will give you details about the properties. Your realtor will be able to look into stuff and tell you, hey, this one's no good. This one, we're not going to be able to do this unless they fix this. Stuff like that. And you don't you're not going to pay for the FHA, that appraisal, until you're under contract, you've done your inspection, and you've done the whole nine. So upon, I guess, it really comes to communicating with your realtor,
Right.
in which case,
So-
Lisette, Jonathan, and being able to confirm with them, hey, does this have this or this and this problem? Does this, you think this will pass FHA inspection? What kind of problems has this house had in the past that might be something that might have been quickly covered up? Something along those lines.
Yeah, we can get them more definite answer, of course.
Yeah.
Adding on a little more to that as well. Us agents have access to a lot of information that's not really made public on the MLS. So there's like a little section that we can see whether or not it's eligible for FHA or only the finances that will be accepted. Sometimes they do put it out in the public description, but that's not the case all the time. But we should know as realtors, we can tell you whether or not overall if it's okay, or if it's best to move on.
In your professional opinion, what you think of
Right.
it in that sense. All right, again, if you guys have questions as you go, keep going. Moving on to the next topic we wanted to discuss, staying on top of your finances and your credit, your finances and your credit. Because a lot of people, your credit is basically your finances, but some people see it as separate things. My finances is my money, and my credit is my credit. You know what I mean? But you got to stay on top of that. Very, very, very important to note right off the bat is cash deposits into your checking or savings account. If you have a checking account or savings account that you're going to be using for this purchase, to purchase your home, to refinance, or anything like that along those lines, you need to make sure you are not making any cash deposits. A lot of people, and I can say this, I'm Colombian, you are Dominican and Puerto Rican. Yeah, a lot of people have their backgrounds. Like they have money in Colombia, they have money in DR, they have money in Puerto Rico, they have money in, Puerto Rico, probably US, but you have money outside the country, right? And they're like, oh, hey, so I'm just going to bring in $20,000 so I can use this as a down payment towards this purchase. Well, what happens is you got to be able to show where that money came from. Some people bring the money over when they first moved to this country. Some people just don't trust banks in general, and they have the money under the mattress. They have the money in a safe at home.
Right.
And they're like, hey, I have $25,000 in my safe. I'm perfectly okay to buy a house. Well, if you go to get a loan with anybody, like any of these lenders, you're gonna need to show where that money came from.
Right.
It might have been 100% legal. I'm sure it is for 99.9% of the people that do this stuff, but you got to be able to prove it. So that's where that becomes a big issue. People think, oh, I have it. Yeah. Oh, I say, how much do you have for a down payment if necessary right now? Oh, I have 10,000. All right, cool. I'm gonna need to see that bank account where you have it. Oh, no, I have it at home. Right there. If you've made any kind of large deposit or anything like that into your account, we're gonna have to let that deposit season. We're gonna have to make sure. And sometimes it's because if you made a large deposit, your bank knows more of your transaction history, how you work, if you move big money like that.
Right.
So they have a responsibility to look into your finances as well if it seems suspicious. So obviously, if after 60 days of that, and the bank's not looking into it, they're like, yeah, no, this is the normal thing for him. After 60 days, the mortgage company is okay with that, with seeing. They're not going to see, they go back 60 days. That's what they go to check. So my advice, if you have anything like that, you've put it in there, let's wait. Let's let it season into the account. Go through the motions. If the bank asks you anything about it, whatever, you can do whatever you got to do in that sense. And then once we're ready to go, 60 days later, all right, boom, now let's make this move. Let's do what we got to do. Now we know this money's in there. It's seasoned in there. Nobody's going to question where it came from. You know what I mean? Because that is a big one. It kills a lot of loans. And there's nothing really you can do once that happens, unless you can prove where it came from. No new lines of credit. That's a huge one. It's exciting when you pull your credit and you see, wow, my credit's at 700 right now, or my credit's at 800 right now, and you've been working on it for a few years and you're where you need to be. You wanted to get to 650, 680, something, and you got there. It's exciting. And you might be like, oh my God, yes, now I can, I'm going to buy this house. But I've been wanting to finance a car, get rid of this beater I'm driving right now, you know? You can't. If you, at that point, you have to make a decision, you know, and if you go with the car, that's fine. But you have to decide, I want this house, or I want this car, or I want this lifestyle. I want to get these credit cards. I want to, you know, you need to make that decision so you don't end up screwing yourself over, basically. You know, you don't end up blocking your own path to home ownership. Because again, I've had it happen. I've had clients in the past, and you know, nobody does it on purpose. They don't do it because they, you know, sometimes it's just, you know, I'll recommend it. Hey, you know, don't open any lines of credit, blah, 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 and whatever. And they're like, you know, I know he's warning me, but he's probably just trying to play it safe. I'm going to open up this little credit card. And then a week before closing, we get that notification. There's a new line of credit. There's a new debt. Now your debt to income ratio has changed. And if you were close before, you might be done right there. And it's for something that maybe could have waited till after you closed. After you closed, all the mortgage company cares about at that point is making your payments on time. You closed, you want to open up a new account, you want to do this, you want to do that, do what you got to do. But in the loan process, no new lines of credit. You know, some actually on that note, one that people have asked me about a few times is, can I take out a loan to help with the down payment, or to help to show reserves in your account, right? So that's a tough one, because reserves have to be in your account for 60 days regardless. Right. So it's money you have to have had in that account. And then if you go and take out that loan, say you take out a $5,000 loan, now your debt to income is going up. Now you're paying $250 a month on that loan, or $125 a month, or whatever you may be paying, depending on the term you have. Now you might not qualify for as much as you originally did. And again, you basically shoot yourself in the foot.
And that has a lot to do with your debt to income ratio, right?
Correct. Yes, because any payment that you make is going to affect your debt to income ratio. I think we have another question. Oh, there you go. Mr. Bolano uploaded the inspection checklist. So apparently there is an FHA inspection checklist, which is great. And Mr. Bolano just uploaded it on his Facebook, on Lissette's Facebook, on the Bolano Home Facebook. Sorry. Jonathan, if you don't mind, can you upload that on mine as well? Can you comment that on my Facebook, please? Thank you very much, sir. So yeah, so far, no cash deposits, no new lines of credit. Is that a question? What is it? PIN contact info for pre-qualifications? Is that a question, Kevin, or are you just out there?
I think he's asking for your info.
Oh, you want my info? Okay, absolutely. Sorry. My phone number is 401-365-7161. My email address, jonathan.agadello@freedommortgage.com. If I could reach over there, I would do it myself. But Mr. Bolano, if you don't mind, can you put that up on there on Instagram? I know I'm bugging you. You're not even here. But I will definitely throw that in there after we're done with this video as well. So you can go back and you can see it in the comment section. My contact info will be there. Another important aspect of it, which Lisette mentioned as well, in regards to finances, make sure that your employment is as secure as can be. Yes. Meaning, if you know, hey, I've been at this job for 5 years, I'm exhausted with this job, I want to take a break, I'm done, maybe it's not the time to look for a house. Maybe if that's the case, hey, I mean, we're all human, and we all work, and it's tough, and some of it's mentally draining, some of it's physically draining, and it's crazy. But you definitely need to know where you stand or where you plan on being in that case, because nobody's gonna lend you money if you're not employed, or if you're not gonna be employed. They do a verification of employment, a written one initially, but right before you close, one of the very last things you do is a verbal verification of employment. So if we started the process, you're like, all right, I already gave them all those pay stubs. They qualified me with that income, whatever. I'm quitting halfway through the process. Well, at the end of the day, they're going to call right before you close. They're going to call and say, hey, just one last verbal verification to make sure that Jonathan still works there, that Lisette still works there, that whoever still works there. And that employer is going to be like, no, actually, he quit 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Well, that's going to completely throw a wrench in the clockwork. Basically, it's gonna basically screw yourself over.
We went through the whole thing for no reason.
Correct.
And we all don't want to be sad.
Yeah.
You don't want to be sad.
Yeah. On that same note is switching careers. You always want to put yourself in the best position possible career-wise. Absolutely. Advancing your career is great. You just got to know that there's certain switches that can actually nullify what you've done or change the way you qualify. So, for example, a very common case is somebody that's works. Let's say you work at a bank and you are a salaried employee for 5 years, and then you decided I want to do sales or whatever. You're doing loans. Now you're 100% commission. We need to. So technically, if you're going from one job to another and that kind of deal, you need to have 2 years of being commission based only. Now, if it's in the same line of work, so you're still at that bank, still finances, they'll give you a break and you can have a year of commission based, as long as it's in the same field that you were just in getting your salary. Okay. That being said, if you're making you're going from the medical field to construction, that kind of stuff, they're going to want to see 2 years in that new field before you qualify. So you're basically like restarting your employment history when you make a move like that. So it's very important, if you know you want to make one of those moves where you're making such a big career change, then you want to check with your LO and see, hey, is this going to be considered? Because some things might be confusing. Some of it can be as simple as, oh, I used to work for Dick's Sporting Goods, right? And now I work for Best Buy. You're thinking, oh, it's a different field. It's sports, it's electronics, it's retail. It's the same field. Right. So you might be thinking, oh no, I'm not going to be able to this and that. But no, you will be able to. But you have to talk. That's back to the communication. Very important. Ask the question, and you'll be able to know. Oh, okay. Let's check out. There was another question. One that you touched on.
Oh yes. So you got your house and you closed successfully, and you can move in, and then you realize that you don't have money for furniture. So one of our tips is to have a healthy savings, and even before you close. So there's expenses such as paying for your inspection and appraisals and things like that, which can vary in price depending on what company you go with, but that comes out of the pocket of the buyer. So we want to throw that out there, that it's usually something that's paid for by the buyer. If you want to do an inspection, that's on you, and
we usually recommend it.
Yeah, we usually do recommend it.
It's highly recommended that you do get an inspection, but it is your choice.
Right.
If you can't do that inspection, or you don't want to do that inspection, then you don't have to. You do have to, however, pay for the appraisal. But it is an option, but most of us will direct you in a way where it's almost not an option. Like, you really should do this. It's really going to be beneficial to you. You might think of it as, oh, I just spent $400 on this inspection to find out that this house is no good. Guess what? You just save yourself 30 years of payments on that house that you just found out is no good.
And thousands of dollars in repairs.
Correct. So it's well worth it. But yeah, touching on the furniture that you mentioned. So that doesn't mean go to Bob's, go to Cardi's and take out a line of credit over there and buy furniture that way. That means have some money saved up, cash, a different account that you're not using for this, whatever. Or in that same account. You know, if you know you need to show $5,000 and you have 7,000 in here, fine. Go ahead and do what you got to do. And just pay for it that way. Do not open credit to do that. That is the number. That purchasing an auto and then buying furniture ahead of time with credit is like the two most like what not to do. It's like 1 and 1A when it comes to your credit on trying to, you know, continue on with the purchase. We've rambled for a little bit.
We have one more.
Rambled for a little bit, but what was it?
$100 loan.
Oh yes, but we do have one more. Now this is fairly new. Found out about this a couple of days ago. HUD-owned properties. The Department of Housing and Urban Development owns some properties out there. Usually not in the best shape. Properties that have been foreclosed upon. Properties that need a lot of work. Okay. Right now they've started something where you. David Lopes. That's true. See, it's right what David said. David says it'll save you costing a boatload of money and headache doing that inspection. Inspect any and every house. It's well worth it. Thank you, David. That's a very good point. It is. It's going to save you so much money down the road. And the headaches. The stress sometimes is 10 times worse than the money itself. Right. So what I was getting to with that Department of Housing and Urban Development. So those properties usually need work, usually need a lot of work. You can get them pretty cheap. You know, you might be able to find something. I don't know how much is out there right now that are HUD owned, but you can get together with, let's say, Jonathan, whatever realtor you're working with, and see what properties are out there. See if there's anything that piques your interest. What you can do with those now is they're taking $100 down, $100 for a down payment, and you can still qualify to purchase that property. Again, this is not going to be on just. Thank you, David. Oh, that was a horrible thumbs up. Very corny, but do it again. So again, your realtors will be able to help you find out which properties, if there are any HUD-owned properties in the areas you're looking at. But $100 down, just $100, not 3.5%, not 5%, not 20%. $100 down towards a HUD-owned property that you're going to go FHA, most likely 203K. Because let's be honest, a lot of those need a lot of work. But a 203K is something you can do, and a 203K can actually give you some return on your money. You again, it's going to be a property, especially if it's a HUD-owned property. It's going to be a property that's going to be priced lower for the most part. It's going to be priced lower than the value that you're going to have once you make those changes. So you're going to start off with equity right off the bat. It's going to be more of a headache, absolutely. HUD-owned properties, you got to deal with the Department of Housing and Urban Development. You got to deal with your loan officer, your agent, your contractor, whoever's going to do all that stuff. So it is a little more complicated, or let's be real, a lot more complicated. But $100 down towards that purchase,
not a bad deal.
It's kind of a huge deal. You know what I mean? Again, it's going to be for whoever it's right for. You know, if it's somebody that wants to buy something that's move-in ready, that program is not going to be for you. You know, you might want to put down the extra couple bucks or go with some other program, 100% finance in the grant, whatever, to be able to do that. But I think that's a very good option to have, and not many people know about yet. It's a fairly new program that's being rolled out. It's quite simple. You qualify like you would for a 203K loan, an FHA loan. Same kind of deal. But yeah, I mean, if there's anybody has any questions on anything we've discussed right now, or any questions on any topic we might have discussed in the past. Again, forgot to mention this part. Mr. Bolano himself is usually really good at reminding us this stuff. We every 5th week, this is our 3rd one, correct? Every 5th week, we are going to give a prize. We're going to have a quick Q&A where we'll ask some questions and see if anybody remembers the answers. If you get the answer right, you will get a gift card, to Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, one of those things. Nothing major, but cool little gift card as a thank you for watching us and paying attention and listening to stuff and seeing us not really focused on camera here because we got 3 different cameras pointing at us, so stuff like that. But yeah, as a thank you for listening, to say, hey, it's gonna pay off for you to pay attention. Even though we're hoping you learn stuff, we'll give you a little gift as well. That being said, any questions? Anything you want to go through? I mean, I'd like to let me see. Yeah, that's it. I mean, any questions? Anything you got for us? Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Hello, everybody.
All right. Well, those were all of our topics for today. We want to give a shout out to those who have joined us today and those who have been super supportive of us. And if you know anyone in the market or just interested in learning, tag them, share this video, and we will see you guys next week. Well,
and I want to give it a couple more minutes, see if we get any questions. But I did want to mention as well, with her sign off. Yes, make sure we're gonna comment on the. We're gonna have it in the comment section. I'm using my phone for this, and obviously clearly can't reach it. Little hands, they don't reach, But I will be putting in the comment section my contact info, phone number, email address. You can text me, call me, whatever you'd like. We can set up an appointment, get a pre-qualification, because that's number one step in doing all this stuff. John and I have touched on it, and Lisa have touched on it before. Pre-approval is your first step, your most important step. All it takes is a phone call and some information, and we can get rolling. So again, congratulations to Alan over there. He made the move recently from a very good company, Badger Realty, but to another great company as well. That's a Blue Sky. Congratulations, Alan. Thank you for tuning in. But yeah, I mean, if there are no questions at this point, or if you think of something else later, send us a message, send us a text, give us a call, and we'll see what we can do. We'll get stuff rolling. We'll see where you're at and keep moving forward. All right. Think we're good. Thank you, everybody, again for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.
We got that one. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Just about